Okay, we're a few minutes ahead of schedule. We have been joined by Coach Luke Fickell from Cincinnati. The Bearcats are 4-1 in the overall, 1-0 in the American. We're in action Friday against UCF, and Cincinnati won the game 27-24. The Bearcats are on the road this Saturday. They'll be playing at Houston, 3:30 Eastern, 2:30 Central on ESPN2. And as we mentioned earlier on the call, Jarrell White from Cincinnati is the American Defensive Player of the Week, and punter James Smith is the Special Teams Player of the Week. Coach, thanks so much for joining us on the call. We just get your thoughts on the win against UCF, maybe a word or two about Jarrell's and James' performance, and what your thoughts are as you head to Houston on Saturday to face the Cougars.
Well, it's an exciting Friday night for us. I'm so happy, not just for our team and our program, our kids, but also for our university and our student body, because, we won, which makes it all that much better, but just the night and their ability to come out and make it and create an atmosphere and make it an event, I think was just special. Special for, our players to see the support. I think also for our community to see the support, and I think it goes a long way. In a big game like that, to have that kind of support, I think, is really kind of shows, I think, not just us, but around even the country, that, the things that are going on here, not just in the football program, but in general in our community and in our university. So it was a great night. Obviously, we played really well in order to knock off the best, and I think that's what we had to do. Jarrell White being one of those guys that just showed up both special teams-wise and defensively, some really, really big plays. He knocked the ball loose on a kickoff late in the game that we didn't recover, but it was a huge play. Picked one off in the red zone, had 3 or 4 tackles for loss, and just a really aggressive, disruptive guy that's continuing to grow for us. He doesn't always start. We got some guys that roll, and we played 22 guys out there defensively a significant amount of time, and it's not always the easiest to not be maybe the guy out there starting, but guys that are rolling in and respect each other, that they don't really care who's, the starter. And then obviously James did a great job for us. I think he had 4 punts inside the 10-yard line. We ended up with a plus 10.7 differential in field position, and basically all to James and his ability to drop the ball down in there and give us a chance, with that offense and the way they are, to, the only chance you got is to make them have to drive. And if they've got any bit of short fields, it's really, really difficult. And I think the combination of all that together is what gave us an opportunity to win.
Maybe a word or two about Houston, Coach?
Oh, okay. Yeah, and haven't been there. So this is my first time. The first 2 years in the league, we did not play them. Going into the year, just watching, the new teams that we have on our schedule, I would have put them, and I still believe they're, one of the top 2 teams in the conference as far as talent-wise. And I know they've got, maybe a red shirt going on at quarterback, which changes them up a little bit. But nonetheless, in the first year of Coach Holgerson, I think you see some really dynamic things and some athletes, and which makes it a challenge to us every time. Coming off a bye week, it's always interesting and unique to see what people do as well.
Okay, we'll take questions for Coach Luke Fickell. Please star 1 on your telephone keypad. We'll put you in the queue, and then the operator will introduce you.
Thank you. We'll take our first question from Jason Stam with Rivals.com. Please go ahead.
Hey, Coach. I feel like everybody or every coach has their own kind of way of processing a big win like this when you have it. But what's kind of your approach as far as guarding against a letdown or a hangover? All the emotion, everything that went into that game on Friday night, being able to come back strong, this weekend.
I think the fortunate thing for us is it was on a Friday night, so we got to not only enjoy it, late that night, but the next day with our guys having the day off, got to actually enjoy it, soak it in a little bit, and then have the ability to come in on Sunday like a normal routine, getting some of that out of your system. Yes, you got to be able to handle some things, but I'm hoping and I believe that was probably the best case scenario for us. Because it does. I mean, you win an emotional game like that on Saturday, especially if it's a late night game. You come in on Sunday, man. It's still within the 24-hour period, and it's hard to get a lot of work done. It's hard to even evaluate the thing, and be hard upon yourself. So I'm hoping and I believe that having that on Friday night with that day off on Saturday gave us an opportunity to kind of take a couple deep breaths, enjoy it, and then realize that hey, this is just a start. We got a long way to go, and when you come in on Sunday, I felt good about where those guys were, and they weren't still just kind of walking around like they had, conquered the world or anything yet.
And just being almost halfway into the season now, like what progressions or what areas do you feel like your team has showed some improvement or things you really noticed that you've been pleased with at this point?
Well, I think it's energy. Energy is the biggest thing. We were 2-1 and sitting there probably not with a whole lot of energy in our program, and I can't tell you exactly why, but I think throughout the bye week and some things, our guys found some energy of some sorts. And like I said, it's not just because they had a bye week, but your ability to come in here every day and start to really enjoy the work and the things that you're doing. To me, that's where the growth in our team has been this year, from the time we left camp through that first week to the really bad second week. Just the ability for us to grow as a team, and I mean that in the locker room. Are we playing better offensively? Are we playing better defensively? Are we tackling better? I mean, yeah, there's a lot of fine little things in there, but more than anything is I think the ability for those guys to enjoy what we do together, meaning not just the celebrations of a win, but practice and those kinds of things is the biggest difference right now on our team.
Really appreciate it. Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
We'll now take our next question from Fletcher Page with the Cincinnati Enquirer. Please go ahead.
Hey, Luke. How's it going?
How are we doing, Fletcher?
I'm good. You talked about after the game, the UCF game, about how Marcus and the staff kind of brainstormed some ideas for what you guys could do going back, during the summer. And I was just kind of curious maybe what the process is for getting ready for an opponent in the off season, what you guys might do or how you approach a team might be, and how that might differ when you've got a team like Houston coming up with a brand new coach and staff and maybe going in a different direction. How do you guys sort of approach those different kind of games?
Well, we've watched Houston a bit in the summer as well, more so to look at personnel and a lot of things like that. UCF was obviously different and unique because we had played them twice, but once obviously under coach. And when you don't fare well, you really kind of in the off season sometimes you really take a hard look at those things like we did the year before with Navy. And not that we wholesale changed much of anything, but you just really you kind of study a bit more. I don't know that we did a lot for our second game of the year, and unfortunately we didn't play real well. But I think what we had really kind of looked at is some things that give us a chance versus our guys in our league, and really making sure we know the the personnel and the things of our league.
So did you look at what West Virginia had done in recent years under Dana, or do you not look at that?
Yeah. We had watched West Virginia and some things like that, but we watched Houston more so for personnel. Obviously studying the quarterbacks and the wide receivers and the running backs. Just to see exactly, obviously everybody's going to adapt. Really good coaches adapt with what they have, and I think from what he had done and what we had seen more at West Virginia, they've adapted some based on the personnel that they have there.
Gotcha. And then, we've talked about energy quite a bit this season with your team. Are there some indicators that you see during practice Tuesday and Wednesday that sort of lets you know that the energy is moving in the right direction?
Yeah, I mean, there's people more so than anything, but it can't always be the same guy, and that's what's difficult. It can't always just be the coach, but you just, so we try to adjust and change up. Last week we did. We changed it up. We practiced at night, trying to not just simulate, hey, we're playing at night, but also, knowing that a big deal is how are we going to have energy for practice? Are we going to be able to get out of it what we need to get out of it? It's going to be 92 degrees. What's best for the players, not what's best for the coaches. Coaches, getting off the field at 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, and then having to watch the film and then be back in for, an early morning meeting is not as good for the coaches as it is for the vampires of 18 to 22-year-olds that live in the college world. But it was what was best for us to keep the energy, not just on game day, but the energy of practice and the things we got to do to get better.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks.
We'll now take our next question from Justin Williams with The Athletic. Please go ahead.
Hey, Coach. I just have a quick one. I know you talked about Jarrell at the top, but I think he's a guy that's kind of easy to overlook at times on this defense. What is it about him that when he's on the field, he just always seems to kind of flash and be able to make plays? What is it about his style or just his personality you think that lends to that?
The bigger the stage, the more excited he. I mean, really. I mean, I think it's pretty obvious when he goes out there and plays like that. But by nature, he is an aggressive kid, and the philosophy of what we want to do here is be aggressive. And sometimes it doesn't always happen for guys that maybe even guys that haven't played a ton of ball. Obviously, Jarrell's played a lot of ball. He's got a lot of confidence in what he does. But sometimes when those lights come on, guys that haven't played enough, there is a little bit of a hesitation because they don't want to make a mistake. And I think he's got a unique ability that when the lights come on, he doesn't hesitate. He's not worried about making a mistake. He's very aggressive. He believes what he sees, and he has the ability to do it.
Perfect. Thanks, Coach.
Thanks.
And any final questions for Coach Luke Fickell, please? Star 1 on your telephone keypad, if so. Well, Coach, thanks so much for joining us, as always. Look forward to hearing from you once again next Monday.
Thank you.